You know, it's been around 15 months since I last did one of these, back when I was at 200 subscribers, and you know, you don't get to have your subscriber count be a palindrome all that often. So for all 1,441 of you that are here, what's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. My channel is Square Pegs. I thank you so much for stopping by and for checking the channel out. And today we are talking a little bit about me, so you guys can get to know me a little bit better and you can understand the person that you're investing your time into, your views into, your likes and your dislikes, which I appreciate both because I learn from each of them, and just want you to understand a little bit more about who I am and the things I'm interested in. So, I'm Jay. I've been a gamer for 35 years. My first game I ever played was Atari Super Football, where my cousin Greg worked me, raked me over the coals. He knew how to play. I'd never played a video game before, but that ignited a love affair with gaming. My first console was a ColecoVision, but the first real one was an NES. That was the one that I fell in love with gaming on, and that's the one that kind of ignited everything. I worked in the video game industry for 7 years. I was a senior quality assurance manager at Electronic Arts Tiburon down in Orlando, Florida. I worked on a wide variety of games, everything from NCAA football to Fight Night to Tiger Woods to NASCAR to Henry Hatsworth and the Puzzling Adventure, my personal favorite, Mirror's Edge. I worked on a lot of stuff, and I honestly loved it. But at the end of the day, the industry didn't love me as much as I loved it. I left the industry after 7 years, and I continue to work in software quality assurance. I work in it full-time. I actually work in library software now. Significantly quieter. Not as exciting as the video game industry, but it's a steady job, and I love what I do. But of course, what you guys know me for are these videos here, and a lot of you have given me the goodwill of just kind of joining up and subscribing to the channel after discovering me either through appearing on other people's channels, like I've been on Game Dad, I've been on Mr. Rightway's channel, I was on Zap Crystal's channel with John Hancock, John Riggs, and I appreciate you guys being here. And one of the things I really like about you guys stopping by is that you just automatically gave me that goodwill, and I need to give that back. So I wanted to do a little bit of an AMA here. I put out the call on my Patreon page, my community tab on Twitter. Links to all of those are going to be down below if you're interested. And I got a bunch of questions in from a lot of good people. So the first questions we're going to answer are from my patrons. So let's start off. I'm going to go over here to the phone and we're going to take a look and see what people have asked. All right, Chris, who is the host of Game Dad Show, his link will be below. He is one of my favorite people. Chris is like a brother to me, and he's legit one of my favorite people. Like one of the things that I was cautioned about, sorry to go on a diatribe here, one of the things I was cautioned about when I started YouTube was to not make friends with people, because the friends that you make won't actually be your friends. And I really had my guard up for a long time because I didn't think I mean, I have a hard time making friends anyway. And I didn't think that I was going to have any friends because of this. And those walls have been broken down. Whether it's Chris from Game Dad, Gary from Rock Solid Productions, John Riggs, John Hancock. These are all people that I absolutely adore. Sega Blocks, DC Radaya guy, Retro Rubbish, Heapso Games. There are a ton of people that I just I value their input. I truly consider them friends, and I'm a better creator and I'm a better person for having known them. So Chris is, to circle that way back here, Chris is one of the best people I know, one of my favorite people on the planet, and he asks, when is the next He Plays, She Plays? Okay. So having said that Chris is one of the best people I know, Chris, a real fan of the show, would know that the segment was called He Played, She Played, and it will be coming back soon. We're actually going to be playing Hat in Time in March. My wife's birthday and my birthday are both in March. We're going to be doing that for our birthdays. We will be doing a review at that point. We'll be doing a Hat in Time for the Switch. And yeah, we'll talk about it at that point. So you have less than a month to wait, and hopefully it will be an every other month segment going forward. Next up is John. John's one of my oldest friends. I used to work with him at EA. John asks me, what is one game you wish you had worked on? And it doesn't have to be an EA game. And I'm actually going to take that 2 steps. I'm going to say one EA game that I wish I had worked on and one non-EA game that I wish I had worked on. And I'm going to limit it to the time I was actually in the industry, because I think, you know, it's easy for me to say Mega Man 2. It's my favorite game of all time. I would have loved to have worked on it, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. So for me, EA would be SSX. The SSX series is my favorite thing that EA has ever made. I would have loved to have worked on Tricky, that released, I think, the year before or the year after I started. And then there were some other SSX games at the same time, and I love the SSX series. I wish I had been able to work on it. I wish I had done more stuff with EA Canada. I worked with them on NCAA basketball, but SSX was the big one for me. That's the one I definitely would have worked on. Now, not from EA. I mean, they kind of are EA now, but it's not at the time. Knights of the Old Republic. I am a massive Star Wars fan. Of everything in my life, it is my #1 fandom. It is the thing that I will take time off of work to go to Star Wars conventions, to go see the movies, to watch the shows. It is my favorite thing. Star Wars is my favorite thing. and Knights of the Old Republic released the first year I was working in the games industry, and that was something that I looked at and I said, man, I want to do that one day. Next up, Samuel asks, what is your go-to mood game, i.e. a game you can play to try and see if you can get back in the zone when outside forces have you out of it? That's a really good question. There's a lot of them, and it really depends on the mood I'm trying to get back into. One of the constants over the last year for me has been Cozy Grove. I did a review on that on the channel, and it was something that kind of filled the gap that Animal Crossing used to fill, but I didn't feel like a chore to play the game. I played it when I wanted to, and I had fun every time playing it, and that really kind of got me back into a good headspace. And that was actually an idea for a video I had, was kind of just those good headspace games, and I haven't done that one yet. I should probably get around to doing that sometime. And see, other than that, the NHL series, NHL 95 is something I play all the time. That gets me, because it's kind of muscle memory, that kind of just allows me to kind of mentally turn off for 10-15 minutes at a time and hopefully reset myself a little bit. And then Doom. The 2016 Doom that's on the Xbox or PC or the PlayStation 4 is, that's a hell of a mood adjuster. Like, if you ever need to blow off steam and just kind of get yourself back to being right, Doom's a good one to go with. Another one from John. John asks, what are the top 5 games you want to add to your collection that you do not currently have? Okay. Earthbound is number 1. I love Earthbound. I don't need to have a complete in box just because I don't need to sell my car to get it. But I would love to have a cartridge of it one day. I hope prices eventually kind of regulate a little bit, especially now that it just got announced that it was going to be on the SNES Online. I think that would definitely be a help. Suikoden 2, I would love to get that again, as well as Suikoden 5. That way I could have the entire Suikoden series. Let's see, what else? Shining Force 1 and 2 for the Genesis. And those I would love to have complete in box, because I think those are 2 of the most underrated RPGs ever made. I love the Shining Force series, and so many people overlook the Genesis for quality RPG experiences, and I think that would definitely be 2 that I would love to have. So there's my 5. All right, another one from Samuel. He says, what exactly was the source of no fun February? Well, I blame it all on the retro rivals. Scott and Jen are incredible. They will be linked down below. They are one of my absolute favorite channels on YouTube. I watch every video they do. I feel like I've known them for years just because they're so comfortable to watch and so naturally charismatic on camera that I just adore their stuff. So I blame them. But the real inspiration was actually my wife and I are saving to buy a truck. And I wanted to have an excuse to not buy any games for a month just to see how much money I could save. And that's really what it comes down to. There's financial belt tightening isn't a bad thing. Like I like to buy games, don't get me wrong. I would much rather be buying games, but at the end of the day, the truck is going to get us to the point where we're able to go camping more and, actually pull our little pop-up trailer so we can actually get out into the woods and get away for a little while. And yeah, I mean, that's significantly more important than making sure that I pick up King of Fighters 15 on launch day. Philip, who is one of my oldest friends, I learned the game of HeroClix from Philip, and I actually designed pieces for WizKids for a little while. Philip asks me, you have mentioned using emulators before. I have. Do you prefer playing games on original hardware or emulators? And is there anything people should be aware of when looking to use one for the first time? Definitely original hardware. I absolutely prefer using original hardware, although there are situations where an emulator is the answer. Like, it was significantly easier for me for a long time to run an N64 emulator and capture the footage that way, just because I didn't have a way to get good-looking footage for the channel until I got my RetroTink 5X. That problem is, however, solved now. I also prefer emulators for stuff like Game Boy, just because I want to show you guys footage. Same thing with the 3DS and the DS. I'm not willing to spend hundreds of dollars to get the hardware to get a capture card installed on my one 3DS that I have left, because, I mean, it's something I still play to this day. I don't want to ruin it. So if I own the game, I'll grab the ROM and I'll show it up on screen just because I think that's easier. Now, I do tend to limit myself in that regard. Now, there are situations where I am going to grab a ROM, something I don't own. I don't own Little Samson. I'm not going to, again, sell my car to be able to buy a video game. And there are certain things like here with my Anbernic. This runs arcade games, and I don't have room for arcade cabinets, and frankly, no one's going to be upset that I'm running Cowboys of Moo Mesa on this thing. It's just something that I prefer in that regard. In most cases, original hardware. In certain situations, definitely emulators, just because it's the easier way for me to get footage. Is there anything people should know? I mean, find a reputable ROM site. All right, now to the community questions. Richard W. Okay, if you guys don't know Dubs, Richard W. is someone that I spoke to after Midwest Gaming Classic in November, and he's an awesome dude, hell of a guy, hilariously funny, and is just a wonderful dude, and is constantly spreading positivity in the community. And I think that's one of the best things about the group that he kind of circled him with there, with like Tom and Lacey from Do You Nerd, JLove81. That's all about positivity and all about spreading love and just community, and Dubs is part of that. And Dubs asks the most common question that is asked on the channel: where did you get the name Square Pegs? I didn't know that there was a TV show called Square Pegs when I started the channel. Wasn't familiar with it, never heard of it. And yeah, I totally found out like after I had started the channel and got the logo made and uploaded a couple of videos that, yep, there was a show starring Sarah Jessica Parker back in the 80s. Called Square Pegs. Bill Murray guest starred on an episode. Neither one of them are ever going to be on the channel. Although Sarah Jessica Parker does do cameos, so I've toyed with the idea of having her just do something, but not yet. Anyway, where did the name come from? So the name, I think for a lot of us just have a hard time fitting in. And you know, everyone's heard the phrase "square peg in a round hole." It just doesn't fit. That was kind of my family and I. Like, the original concept for the channel was for all of us to be in every video, and that just hasn't worked out that way. I kind of realized pretty quickly that I don't like Victor being on camera all that often, just because I kind of want to protect him. Dad, sue me. And Meredith is busy, so she doesn't have the time to devote to this like I do. I mean, she works as well, and for me, this is a hobby. This is a passion for me. I love making content. I love doing stuff for you guys, and for her, it's just not there. So originally it was supposed to be about us kind of, none of us really fitting in our social circles or our families or anything like that, but we came together and we were Square Pegs together, and I just really like the name. Like, I like the logos I've come up with. I like that it's weird enough that people remember it, because if I was just to use my name, no one would really care. Like, no one's gonna stop by to see Jay's videos. No one gives a damn about that. But hey, Square Pegs, did you see Square Pegs latest? People remember the name. So it was originally a family thing, and it just kind of stuck. All right, up next, On Gaming Leave asks, what Greek myths and heroes influence you the most? Now, On Gaming Leave has been a viewer apparently for a little while, or has at least watched some of my older videos where I talk about things like the monomyth, the kind of the literary values of what RPGs bring to gaming. And Greek mythology is a big deal to me. I love Greek myths. And for me, I think the one that probably influenced me the most, and still influences me to this day, is probably the Odyssey. Like, I have had a serious case of wanderlust since I was a kid. I never really quite feel settled in anywhere I live. Like, I can probably trace that back to when I first read the Odyssey when I was around 10. And yeah, and for fun. Like, I wasn't forced to. I wanted to. I loved Greek mythology that much. Yeah, I was reading Homer at 10. I was a very boring child. So I think probably the Odyssey, and I think that kind of lends to, you know, reading about Odysseus and reading about Jason and the Argonauts and things like that, and just, you know, the high adventure and the travel, and that's something that was really interesting to me. And I'd never really traveled until last year when Meredith and I went out west, and it was something where, like, my soul felt spiritually fulfilled. Like, I was so happy to have been able to go see something, and to go to Seattle, a place that I'd wanted to go since I first heard Pearl Jam's 10 back in 1991. And I got to go, and it was everything I dreamed it would be, and I fell head over heels in love with Washington, and I hope I live there one day. The Odyssey, for a very short version of a very long answer. Waves and Games asks, which power do you prefer, flight or teleportation? Teleportation. I am scared to death of flying. Tiger Chainsaw asks, where is your favorite place or store to hunt for retro games in Michigan? Tiger Chainsaw used to live in the state of Michigan, like I do right now, here in the Wolverine State. And for me, I don't really venture too much out of my little southwest corner of Michigan. So for me, it is Second Chance here in Kalamazoo, as well as Disc Replay, which is up in Grand Rapids and over in Battle Creek and down in Mishawaka, Indiana. And then CZ's Games in Three Rivers, Michigan. And then there's a Half Price Books down in Mishawaka as well. Half Price is kind of hit or miss, but sometimes you can find some really good stuff down there. What Game Before asks, if you could combine 5 power-ups from any game into a single character, which ones would you choose? Wow. Okay, I'm gonna switch this to be a Mega Man question, and we're gonna go with my 5 favorite power-ups from Mega Man. And that would be the Magnet Beam, the Top Spin, I know it's stupid, but I love the top spin. I really liked the hard man's fist, quick boomerangs, and the dust cannon from Dustman. GameCube Galaxy asks, what are your top 3 GameCube games? Also, what was your inspiration when starting your channel? Okay, my inspiration, I'm going to reverse the answers on those. Inspiration for starting the channel were 3 people: Metal Jesus, John Riggs, John Hancock. Straight up 100%, which is why if you watch any of my videos at the start of the channel's formation, I am doing horrible, piss poor impressions of these just unbelievably giving creators, and not being myself, and not having any kind of source of who I am or kind of explanation for what I'm into or what I want to talk about. I was doing just really bad impressions of the things they do, and it took me kind of being able to talk to John Riggs and some other creators to realize that I need to be myself, because being a facsimile of someone that is successful is just being a facsimile of someone who's successful is just imitation. And that is the sincerest form of flattery, obviously, but it's something where you need to be able to say your own thing when you say it. And that led to me kind of taking things that other people had done. Like, I do the ranking videos, same as John Riggs, but I put my own spin on it. And when I do my unboxings for Video Games Monthly, I do my own take on those. But I think that's kind of what the inspiration was those 3 guys. And it took me a while to really get to the point where I was satisfied with what I'm putting out. As for my top 3 GameCube games, ooh, that is a spectacular question. Let me pause real quick. Sorry, had to get props. All right, so my top 3 GameCube games, and I'm going to limit this to ones that I own because there are other ones that I would love, but I don't own physically. So first up, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. I've loved this game for years. Since the first time I played it, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I love that there's a Switch remaster, but the original is always going to be first in my heart. Next, Rogue Leader. I love the Rogue Squadron games. I think they're fantastic. Again, huge Star Wars fan. This is one of the finest ones out there. And then number 1 for me, Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door. Love RPGs. Think this is one of the finest RPGs ever made by Nintendo, and I think it is just absolutely spectacular. Brad Marchand just got suspended 6 games, and he deserved every single one of them, and I say that as a Bruins fan. All right, next up, Retro Rivals. Okay, so again, Scott and Jen, fantastic people. Check their channel out. Retro Rivals asks, if you had to Men in Black neuralizer yourself to forget one game so you could experience it again for the first time, what would it be? And likewise, if you had to do the same thing to erase your worst gaming memory, what would that be? Okay, all right, so first, which one would I want to forget? Honestly, and this might be a bit of a controversial response here because I know a lot of people love the series, but Kingdom Hearts, I don't get the big deal about it. I've tried it. As a Disney fan, as a Square Enix fan, I have nothing but desire to love that game, and I just think it's really bad. I don't think it's fun. I think the characters are annoying. I don't think the gameplay's terribly well thought out or clever. It's just, it doesn't work for me. I would love to forget that I ever played it, forget that it exists. Now, which one would I love to forget so I could experience again for the first time? Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI, I think, is probably the perfect RPG. And there's so much that happens in that game that I wish I didn't know. Like, just the Opera House scene alone, I wish I could forget. Like, if I could just pick one scene in a video game, it would be that one. Just... it's so good. Like, I love everything about that game. Sega Blocks asks, if you could erase any game console from existence, you guys want me to erase a lot of stuff. If I could erase any game from console from existence and any memory of it, what would it be? Okay, this one's tough. I think I'm gonna say the PlayStation 3. And there's a reason behind that, and it's specifically because of how difficult it was to work on when it first released. Like, I had a nightmare time the year it released. I was working on NASCAR 2008 when it came out, and trying to get the physics engines of our games to work on the PS3 was a nightmare. Cars were flying all over the place. It was so hard to work with. I hate the 6-axis controller. I just don't care for the system. I would forget that one. Aldo from the Norwalk Public Library Video Game Club asks, the only question that truly matters, Godzilla or Kong? Hold on. I got props. It's Godzilla, come on. And that's not just me knowing my audience, because I know how much Aldo loves Godzilla. No, it's Godzilla. Godzilla's awesome. Celeste, aka @FairyCrypt on Twitter, asks, which baked good in a video game would you most like to try? And this is... oh God, this is such a good question, because I said in my tweet, you know, if you want to know my favorite baked good, go ahead and ask that. That's a chocolate chip cookie, by the way. I'm a very simple man, but I do love a chocolate chip cookie. I mean, it's got to be Mario's cake that Peach baked him, right? Like, that thing just looked incredible. Like, I would love to eat a big ass cake. Like, I just love cake. I mean, I'm a fat dude. Of course I love cake, but yeah, I would like to eat a big ass cake. All right, DC Radaya Guy asks, your favorite era in pro wrestling. Now, I think the easy answer here is to either go straight up 80s, Hulkamania Running Wild, or Attitude Era. And for me, it's neither one of those. And it's mainly because I got to go to a lot of these events, and it would be 2014 to 2017 Black and Gold NXT. I worked at Full Sail at the time. I was able to go to the events, and I loved it. It was incredible to see people like Neville, or Pac as he's known in AEW, or seeing Finn Balor or Samoa Joe, or Bobby Roode, or I saw Johnny Gargano's dark match before he was even hired, fighting Wuhan Nation. It was awesome to be able to see these guys that I genuinely just enjoyed. Was so cool. But yeah, I would say 2014 to 2017 NXT. My oldest friend on the planet, David, aka Word Zero on Twitter, asks, Desert Island Situation. You can only have 3 games. What are they? Mega Man 2, Final Fantasy VI, and Super Mario Odyssey. And finally, heaps of games. My favorite foul-mouthed Irishman asks me, biggest challenge trying to grow your channel? Probably finding a voice. I think for a long time I was treading water because I didn't have anything to say. And I was just kind of parroting what other people had said and not really putting my own spin on things. And I didn't really kind of see once I realized that I was doing that and I put my own spin on things and kind of took my time and created my own identity, things got a lot better. And I think that was probably the biggest one, was finding my own identity and just really being comfortable with who I am enough to put it out on camera so you people would watch. All right, I think that is going to do it for today's video, folks. Thank you so much for watching. If you got any other questions, drop them in the comments down below. If you're new around here, you just stumble across the channel, please hit like, please subscribe. And if you really dig the work I do, consider becoming a monthly Patreon sponsor like the awesome people you are seeing on screen right now. And check out my merchandise at squarepegsyt.com. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay, and now I hope you guys know a little bit more about me. Until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.